Just 5 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about spiritual efficiency because we've done the meditation and everything, and I'll put one down and record it for you so later. But for now, I want to just start with the whole, because meditation is a big part of this. It's not like everything out there. There are a gazillion laws, and we've talked about this before. And that's what I want to talk about today is because do we really need to know them all? Does everybody know what they all are? I mean, I don't even know what they all are. And I've been doing this for 100 years, at least. I mean, trust me. I mean, look at me. I picked up a book, one that I like, but it's nothing I would, subscribe to. But I liked it because he mentioned some of them. I mean, because everybody knows about the law of attraction, right?
Right.
Because we've been through the whole, if you can feel it, be it, do it, you can have it. Has everybody watched The Secret?
Yes.
Did your lives change?
No.
No, they didn't? Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's basically, the law of attraction is the way, or the secret anyway, the way you think will create your reality. Your thoughts create your reality, right? So, great. If you don't change your thinking, it's true, nothing will happen. But just changing your thinking doesn't make things happen. But I found this fascinating because I knew there were a lot of laws. But this is the law of mentalism, the law of correspondence, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effects, the law of gender. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on. So do we really need to know? I mean, there are people that are atheists that do well. And there are people that don't study any of these new laws, or it's not even new age anymore. It's kind of old age redone, and it's kind of gotten to a point where it's all been said, right? I mean, pretty much haven't we heard it all? So, Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations in the 2nd century. I mean, that's a classic. If you've never read it, it is a classic. So, and the law of attraction, again, who was the guy that wrote As a Man Thinketh in 1902? I had it down just the other day because I wrote it down somewhere. But this stuff has been around forever. Neville was good, Francis Scovel Shinn. Then you've got the more popular ones if you move up, like Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, who, God rest his soul, just passed away. If you didn't know that, but God rest, I'm sure he's in a wonderful place. But so, I mean, honestly and truly, do we need to know? There's nothing wrong with learning all of this, but the knowledge is there. So if we have the knowledge, what's missing? What's missing? That's where I wanted to go, because you could go into, it's almost like spiritual consumerism now. And so to me is spiritual overload. It's almost like it's gotten so trendy to do it that you don't even know you just get more and more knowledge, more and more books, more and more seminars, more and more tapes, and what then? So something has to give. What's not? All of you have done that. Are you? Am I the only one here that's relating to that?
No,
Is it true? I mean, really, for all. I mean, if you all tried a lot of things. If you all read a lot of things, if you all been to hundreds of seminars and nothing, it's great when you're there. You raw. I've done it. I've been there. Yeah. Oh my God, I can do this. I can be anything I want to be. I can accomplish it. I can manifest it. I can do anything. And then I get home and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Okay, so why? That's what we're here about, right? Because I told you before, I don't want you to leave here the same person you were when you came in. Just like I don't want you to get up from a meditation the same person you were. You get all this talk about stuff. You don't have to do hours of meditation. You don't have to light incense. You don't have to do Kundalini. There's nothing wrong with all of that stuff if it makes you feel good, but that's what it's doing. It's making you feel good. Is it changing your life? Probably not.
It just calms me down.
Well,
I'm
there.
nervous.
Well, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with the laws, cause and effect and all of that. But people like Donald Trump, I don't think he knows I don't think he knows the law of attraction. I don't think he's sitting around going, hey, I'm not making a deal today or running for president because Mercury's retrograde. Something is. So knowledge obviously then is not enough, right? So we have to get down to the nitty-gritty and the bottom line. And then you don't need a ton of stuff. There's no big secret. There is no big secret. So that's what we're going to talk about today, all right? So meditation. You don't have to sit there for hours. You don't need to be a pretzel and light incense. All you need to do when you sit down is relax to the best of your capability, because your mind is most plastic when you have that alpha state. Is that right, the alpha state? I should sound like I know what I'm doing here, right? I know when you get down to below to just before you go to sleep.
Is that theta?
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
my mind is drawing a blank. Like I could think of James Allen's name earlier, who wrote "As a Man Thinketh," which I know. But so I'll think of that too in a minute. We'll
Okay.
come back to that. But whatever state it is, it's right that state right before you go. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right before you fall asleep. So you don't want to fall asleep. So when you're in that state, your mind is most plastic. Your mind is also most plastic first thing in the morning, because you haven't been bombarded with the daily crap, right? So I mean, honestly and truly, you can get to that state pretty easily. However you want to do that. The more you do it, the faster you do it. But if you get into that state and you allow you allow yourself not to have any thoughts, which doesn't really happen unless you're in a coma, maybe. But you kind of don't entertain the thoughts. You let them drift in and you let them drift out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then taking hundreds of hours of lessons on that and reading books about it doesn't do you any good. You just need to get into that meditative state and feel yourself being the way you want to be. That's what we did in the meditation earlier, right? If you start to feel that way, you don't need to know what I need to know what I need to become. I need to know how much money I'm going to make. You don't need to know any of that. If you just want to feel joyful, you will be more joyful. If you want to be more successful or change careers or any of those things, you can do that too in that state. But you have to feel it. You can't just do it. That's why affirmations in and of themselves don't work. You can affirm anything you want. You can affirm a BMW till the end of time. You might even get it if you affirm it long enough. But if you're not being the person that should be driving that kind of car, you will sabotage it. And or the car will crash, and or it'll get stolen. Something will happen because you're not in the beingness state of being naturally the kind of person that would drive that car. And if you were in that beingness state of the kind of person that would drive that car, it will come to you anyway, if that's what you needed. If you really wanted a new car, you would get it some way or another without you actually having to do anything. Have you noticed when you're in the right state of being, things come to you? Has everybody experienced some kind of synchronicity? Some kind of magic, some kind of miracle, that it just arrived? Well, it's not because it just arrived. You arrived. You arrived at that point. You don't remember, I used to have the same resume, and I'd go for these great jobs and never get them. But after a few years, when I felt like I deserved them, I didn't change my resume, but I got the job. Because I arrived at that place where I felt like I was confident enough to deserve that. Does that make sense? So we can study laws till we're blue in the face, but if we don't change our beingness, we're not going to change. And it's that simple, because most people think you have to do something in order to have something, in order to be something. And it's the other way around, because really the big secret in the world is just to be you. Be it, then you have it to do it. It's the other way around. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'll explain it better to you, but go ahead. Do you have
I was just thinking about that like being in is not that easy.
No, but
because my negative thoughts, my own fears, my own whatever, my little subconscious mind holds me like from
Okay,
expanding
we're gonna
to where I need to.
what you took your
right?
consciousness
Does that
to
make
get
sense?
to the level. Yeah, because I'm not saying it's that simple. I'm just saying you don't need 100
Okay.
laws and a million
Okay, got
books.
it.
But so really, that's my point. The point is no one's going to be able to do it for you. There is no magic pill. So these people, you're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but really in the end, you're the one that has the answer. You have it already. You don't need anybody else to give it to you because only you can give it to you. So to raise yourself to that place of being, that's not like you can do that in 30 seconds or we'd all be where we want to be and The Secret would have worked, or any of those books or any of those people. And there's nothing wrong with them because they come along to teach you, to try to help you move your consciousness forward. But they make it a long, complicated process usually, and it's not. But you got to do the work. You got to be where you want to be. Do you have to know where you want to go? You have to have some kind of direction because you can't change if you think you're going to be the same. You can't become the person you want to be by thinking and being the way you are now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if you want to be somebody different, really what you want to be that. You want to feel that and be it within you. Now, you've got to feel like you deserve that, or even if it's just being happy or being loved. Now, again, we have a million things you can get into analyzing your blocks and your clean your chakras and all that stuff. It basically, for me, comes down to two things. Or really one even. There's a universal doubt that I think just about everybody has. So you can spend years analyzing it, or you can and read more books or whatever. But really, it all comes down to there's some kind of I'm not enough. That's it. I'm not enough, and I'll explain that better. And the other thing is the fear. Fear. And fear is simply fear of the future. All fear is based on fear of the future. Will I get that job? If I get that job, will I keep that job? Will they fire me? Will they lay me off? Will I ever get a better job? It's just this endless, I don't have a guy, now I have a guy. Will I keep the guy? Is the guy screwing around? And oh my God, he's looking at Margaret over there. And what am I going to do? And now Margaret's off with him. And now I don't have a guy. And really I didn't want a guy anymore, but now I don't. It's this constant fear of going into the future. And we've been taught really in this society, especially here in America, that everything's about tomorrow. A lot of life is about tomorrow, and you don't even need lessons on being in the now. Being in the now just means being. So we're going to go back to being again. But you start out in school, and they tell you're always thinking ahead. Like, I can't wait to get to high school. I can't wait to get a car. I can't wait to get to college. Life's going to be good when I get married, and then I'm going to get a job, and then it's going to be better because I'm going to get a better job, and then I'm going to go on a vacation, and great vacations, and I'll have money, and you're always like going ahead. And then, you wake up one day, and you're 50 or 60, and you go, gee, I wish I had time to have fun, because when you were, does that make sense? But anyway, all right, so the universal doubt, let's start with that, okay, is I'm not enough on one level or another. Does everybody, it's either I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not capable of being loved, I'm too fearful, I can't get through to the future, which is kind of, the same as the fear. I can't get past my past. I can't get into who I want to be because I'm too afraid that what if I fail? What if I can't do it? That kind. There's a universal doubt in everyone almost that's not where they want to be. There's some kind of form of lack going on there. Is that? Now, again, I don't care how much you read or go to books and videos and whatever, you got to go inside of you and figure that out. And it's not as hard as you think. It's probably something someone's been telling you for a long time. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, I didn't finish college. And for years, I thought I could be nobody because I didn't finish college. So now, where did that come from? It came from, I remember a boss I had once that she told me two things. That, well, no, you need to stay where you are because you didn't finish college. And that's sort of imprinted in my mind. And also, she said to me, "You must be pretty in the country you came from." I was like,
What?
she said, "I bet you're pretty in the country you came from." So now,
Oh my God, so
and
mean.
I think I was probably, this woman was from the Midwest. I was probably like 20, So I went back and figured this stuff out. I also went back and figured out that because I come from Pakistan and, they treat women so badly, and y'all know the story of my name, which means treasure, because my father didn't bury me because they buried baby girls alive in 1958, especially if they already had sons. So I had this, and I saw how my father treated and my brothers treated me, and lots of bad things, and I'm not going to get into it, happened. And I think I just hated men. So when I had to look at when I'm in my 20s and I'm not in a good relationship with someone, where's that coming from? Well, duh. It took, but I figured it out, So, and I worked, but no one's going to give you the answer to that. It's a universal doubt, and then that universal doubt is putting fear into you that's stopping you from moving forward, because like I said, it's all fear of the future of some kind. Does that make sense? Okay, so once you get past that, especially that happens a lot with money, abundance, about being able to be, because I think, I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump because that's just, but it's kind of a circus, and it's a joke now, really, honestly. But have you looked at the guy? He just thinks he can be president. He really thinks that. Now, will he be? I'd be scared if that happened. Probably not, right? But and you know what? I bet you deep down inside he knows it. I bet you deep down inside he knows. So this is just a game for him now, and he's having fun playing it, and that's fine. But I want to take that back to beingness, because let's take Barack Obama 8 years ago when he was going to be the first African American president of the United States. And that had never happened before, so there's got to be a lot of fear there. But I saw him towards the end, right before the elections, and I looked at him and I knew he would be president. He knew it. You looked at him and he owned it. That's what owning it means. He owned it. He owned being president. And he was already there, okay? That's what beingness is. Raising yourself up to the level where you don't just understand it, or it might happen, or you have faith. You should have faith in it. There's nothing wrong with that. But even that's not enough. Believing in it isn't enough. If I asked you if you believed in electricity, what would you say? Okay, do you believe in gravity?
Yes.
You do? Okay. I mean, does anyone need to know? Like, okay, I dropped that book and it fell to the floor. Do you need to believe that and have faith in that? Or, okay, it's the same thing with you. If you can believe it and have faith in it, that's fine too. But if you know it, it will happen. It's when you know it, that part of you inside of you that knows it, then it happens no matter what. And you don't have to do anything to make it happen, because that's where the I want to be it first is about not doing and having. See, we all think that we have to convince ourselves that, well, if I'm going to be rich, how can I be rich if I have all these bills on my table that I can't pay right now? And how am I going to make that happen? And my daughter's in law school. It's like, heck, I don't, how are you going to do this? Well, I never think about that. I saw Will Smith being interviewed the other day, and he said, well, I never thought about where I was. I just knew I wasn't going to stay there. I just knew I was going to be who I was going to be. And he did, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. So I think it's important that you have to get to a place inside of you where you know it without a doubt. And you don't have to have what you think you have to have in order to be what you want to be and keep doing things. That's why people that work really hard don't really make it. Have you noticed? They work hard, but they work smarter. They're not really killing themselves like grinding. Work hard is what I meant, and I didn't explain that well. But do you know what I mean? Have you seen people that do that, and then they don't get anywhere? It's like people in New York. That happens a lot in New York. They're chasing their tail all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. They're not You're not getting anywhere. And the people that are really zen and relaxed, they're like, yeah, I got this. It happens. It's like, and they're not sitting around watching TV and eating junk food, but they're not all the time, So there's a different state of, there's a plate, because when you know, what happens when you know? When you know something, you relax. You're not going over it and over it, and how's it going to happen, and when's it going to happen, what's going to happen to me next, So if you want to have money or you want to be successful in a career, you just have to start feeling that way and start acting that way and being that way, and then opportunities come out of nowhere. Hasn't that happened to all of us? It's happened to me. My whole life it's been like that, So getting to a place of beingness is not that easy, but you have to do the work. So you can read it, affirm it. I don't care. Make vision boards till you're green and blue. And, okay. It's like, really? I mean, after a while, you figure it out. You figure out that all the knowledge you need is there. And all the knowledge has been said a million different ways. And that's it, probably because people need to hear it in different ways to get it. But at some point, you have to get it. And that get it is, I have to go inside of me and work on me. Nobody else can do that for you. Nobody has the answer. The biggest, greatest guru in the world is you. I don't want to be a guru. I just want to get out there and tell everybody the answer isn't complicated. It may not be easy, but it's not complicated. But really, truly, when you get down to real spiritual truth, it is simple. It's simple. So, there's people out there all over the world who never picked up a Deepak book or a whatever, and they're fine. They're happy. They're living their lives, and they're having a good, and they're successful, and why? That's because they got in touch with who they are, and they're being them to the fullest. They're beautiful. Be you to the full, beautiful. So when you do that, you get into it more. So does this make sense? Now, the trick here, again, when we talked about you feeling it in your meditation, you have to feel it in your life too. So one of the easiest ways that I've learned to do that is to feel that sense of relief as if it's already happened. In other words, in order to be it, think it's already happened. Know it's already happened. When I needed to, I don't know, I've done this with so many things. When I needed to publish a book, I already acted like it had happened. And I lied and told people it had. But it hadn't, but you know what I mean? Life caught up to me. But you can do that with anything. You can do that with making more money. You can do that. When I needed to lose weight, I just assumed I was thin. When my face was breaking out all the time in premenopausal whatever, that's no fun. I'm 57, so it's not like it, but it happens to everybody. But I looked in the mirror one day and I said, I haven't had a pimple in months, years. Then the next day, I haven't had a pimple in years. Isn't that great? I don't break out anymore. I remember when I used to break out. Well, I was broken out, but I wasn't looking at that. I wasn't looking in the mirror at all. but I had to. I had to. So, but when I looked in the mirror, and I'd say, God, it feels so good that I haven't had a pimple in years. And then suddenly, I didn't have any anymore. Like almost instantly, like in a month. My face was completely clear. And every once in a while, I get a little one, and I go, oh, I haven't had a pimple in years. And I'm serious. But this isn't about just that. This is about how your whole life works. This is about how nature works. This is about how you get in that place of being that person already. There's no, we talked about your brain being plastic because years ago scientists thought that your brain was hardwired, and it's not. You can change your neurosynapses. You can change how your brain connects to certain feelings and things, and then creates those emotions and gives you that rush of hormones and energy and everything else. You can do that. You don't have to go with what you know. You don't have to stay in that same place. You think differently, you feel differently, you will act differently, and different things will happen. That's science, too. So, I mean, really, thoughts are electric and feelings are magnetic. Remember that. So you can think it all you want, but if you don't feel it, it's not going to happen. So you want to get to your place of beingness, whatever that place is. Now, okay, I don't know what I want to be. Well, if you don't know what you want to be, then you're going to stay the way you are. Because then you're just trying to change, but you're trying to change by being who you are. So you have to kind of think about, you don't have to have specifics. You just have to have an idea, a direction. And then the universe can change. And that direction doesn't even have to be written in stone. It can change. You don't have to go there. You may want to go to Germany. But maybe right before you go to Germany, you decide to go to Austria. Or maybe you get to Germany and you want to go to Austria. Those things can happen all around all of that anyway. It doesn't matter. But if you didn't know you wanted to go to Germany, you would just stay here, right? So we have to know where we're going. And we have to know we're rowing our boat with the flow. If you're rowing upstream, you're not going to get very far. And that's the difference between struggle and effort, because struggle is laced with negative emotion. Effort is just doing the job. So you said earlier, Kelly, that you surrendered, right? Well, okay, that means to me, because I've done it, and I still continue to do it when I get into situations where it needs to be done, because life happens. To me, that is just like, I throw my hands in the air and go, I'm not rowing at all. I threw my oars in the water. I'm done. I'm not going to row upstream. And every once in a while, I catch myself, and I am. And I'm like, okay, forget that. I throw my rows in the ocean, and I go, okay, take me. I'm yours. I'll do whatever I need to do for that higher place in me that exists within me. You are part of God. We all are, right? So if you're made in the image and likeness of God and it lives within you, because I think we're all that divine present in physical form, then why can't you do anything, right? Yeah.
Could it be compared to self-love, that if you love yourself more, then you think, okay, I have surpassed the status quo and I love myself enough to raise up to a different level?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so absolutely. So that's exactly what I'm saying, because when you get into the self-doubt, you eradicate all the reasons you don't like yourself anymore, hopefully, you know? So when people ask me what the most important thing I think is in the world is in spiritual life, they expect me to say love, and I don't. I always say, well, it could be self-love. I call it self-worth, but self-love, yeah. So then it is love, but it's not love none of our problems are out there. They're all in you. If that person would just act differently, if that person would just show up in my life, if that boss would just get off my back, I would be okay, right? It's all there. It's never said, but it's not external. It's never external. It's in you. It's in you, and whatever's going on in you is a reflection of what you're seeing in your world. So in other words, if you want to change your world, you have to change. Does that make sense? So yes, and I do think, because your capacity to have abundance comes from your self-worth, your self-love, your capacity to love other people, compassion, success, creativity, all of that comes from what you think of you. So my whole thing is be you. Be you to the fullest and love it. Own it. Stand up for it and get in it. And then you can do anything. You know, you're unstoppable. Anything you think and want can happen, and you don't need to watch another tape or see another book. It's there. It's inside of you, and that's all I want to do is ignite that. You know, don't want to. That's why I don't want to get on some guru thing. You know, it's like I'm never going to do that. It's all about you finding the answer within you. Okay, and then anything you want can be yours. I mean, whether you read a book about it or not, you know. So I'm gonna take some more questions. If Anybody here have any other questions? Did this make sense?